Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blue Jays. Today, we're going to go in depth into the Bichette interview that he did. Then, we're going to ask ourselves the question: do we need more pitching? And then Carter came up with another one of these specialty drafts. So he's going to let us know what that is, and then we're going to go through that.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. So, Carter, I want to start with the interview that Bichette did on Blair and Barker. I'm going to read you the first little bit that he said, and then I'll ask for sort of what you're thinking. He says, "We're not a young team anymore. The whole excuse of growing and learning and all that, it's out the window. It's time to be grown." What do you get out of that?
There's a lot of players that have been with the Jays for a few years now. They've been trying to build this kind of from the ground up ever since 2017, 2018. And I think more so he's referring to the big three once in the Blue Jays system there. It was Kevin Biggio, Bichette, and obviously Vladdy. So these three, especially, there's obviously some other guys that are going to make big impacts. You got George Springer, whatever. But these three are the younger guys on your team that you've been developing in their system for a long time. You need them to show up in these big moments. They've had some playoff experience now. They've played 6 years. Their time is running out. A lot of these guys only have a few years left on their deals. So it's kind of now or never. And I think the players are finally starting to feel that.
Yeah, and I mean, even when they go into arbitration, it feels like we're not having the easiest time coming to an agreement, which is a little bit concerning just in the sense of, do these guys necessarily have that drive, that want to be Blue Jays?
Yeah, with Bichette, obviously he struggled a little bit with arbitration last year, and they finally did reach a 3-year deal. So that was good. But obviously now we have Vladdy, who is going through the arbitration process. Both sides cannot come to an agreement, so they're going to have to go to a third party there. It's a little bit scary to think about. Two of your future stars that are still developing, but almost at their primes. I mean, 27, 28, it should be your prime in baseball. So they're running out of time to stick together here. Obviously, Bichette's going to want money. Vladdy's going to want money. All these younger players are not going to be settling for these 5, 10. Obviously, with Vladdy and Bo, it's a little bit different. Bo's at 10, and then Vladdy's at 20 around there. But it's going to be tough for Rogers to be throwing all this money around to all these players.
Yeah, and I'm going to go into the next thing he said, which I think he really points out to the experience that they've had. So he says, "I think we've been through enough experiences at this point, not to say what we've gone through isn't great experiences, but I think saying we're learning, saying we're growing, that kind of stuff is over, and it's time to get stuff done." Now, for what I read out of that is that like you said, they're getting to that age where we can't be treating them as kids anymore. Like I think we have been for a while. Like, oh, they're going to be fine. They're not even at their primes yet. Blah blah blah. It's time to start thinking these are the formative years, the primary years of these guys' careers possibly, and we have to take full advantage. I think they know that they have to take full advantage. And what we've seen over the past few years of the ups and downs, the hot and cold, the all over the place sort of play needs to be done. They have to get in the mindset of win now and want to win now. And I don't know that necessarily they were in that mindset, but it seems like Bo is on the right track. I actually love his response to some of these questions. But at the same time, players say this stuff all the time, right? So I need proof. And I don't know if that's where you stand or if you think they're going to be there, or do you still need to see something?
Yeah, it's tough when they've had success in the regular seasons, but as soon as the playoffs come around, there has been not a lot to be happy about for a lot of these games that we've seen. And it's going to be unfortunate when you look at the next coming years, even next year in 2025, we have Kikuchi, Kevin Kiermaier, Yemi Garcia, Danny Jansen, and Trevor Richards all up for contract extensions. So are they going to be able to bring all these guys back? Probably not. You're going to have to pick and choose who you want. And the year after that's even worse. You got Genesis Cabrera, Eric Swanson, Tim Meza, Kevin Biggio, Jordan Romano, Chad Green, Isaiah Connor-Falefa, Chris Bassett, and then Bichette. So that is a lot of big names on the Jays. So really, this is kind of the last year that you're gonna have this kind of group together. So when he's saying like we're running out of time, he's right. This is it.
Yeah.
This team could look very different in the next coming years.
Yeah, and it is scary because when I think back to watching that 2015-16 team, um, we knew sort of that that was the end of the line, right? And then we were going to have to go through this process of what everybody talks about is the 7-year rebuild or whatever, right? I know that's more of a hockey thing in that necessary sense, but it is a long process to rebuild your franchise from the ground up, and that's what we did. And so now to be thinking that we might have to go through that again is scary. And I think right now we haven't seen what we need to see from this team. They haven't made a run like that. They haven't been that electric force that the whole country rallies behind again, which is a little bit sad, right? That 2015-16 season, like people would like you'd be stopped on the street. If you were wearing a Jays hat, people would be like, "Holy, like are we going all the way this year?" I don't know if necessarily we can say that this year. Like I don't know if I'm seeing somebody or talking to my buddies and saying, "Do you think this is the year?" and they're saying, "Yeah." Like I'm just not quite there.
Well, it's tough to say that, especially when the Jays really haven't made a big move at all in free agency. Like, obviously, they got these Kevin Kiermaier. Love to have him back. Kind of left as a good fielder. But again, when you're looking at this last year's team, we've been saying it for as soon as we started this podcast, and we've been saying it for years that the Jays just don't have hitting. And now there's a couple of guys going on this free agent market. We need to bring somebody in. But at the same time, if you don't have good years from Vladdy, you don't have a good year from Kirk Varsho, these are the guys that you need to step up. These are the guys that you already have established on your team. And if they hit the way they did last year with low averages, no power, no clutch hitting, this team's going to be the exact same. And we're going to be having these exact same conversations in a year. I hope it doesn't turn out like that and doesn't transpire that way. But hopefully we're running out of time. Spring training is in less than a month. So we're also running out of time to get a trade cooking here.
You're 100% right in the sense that it seems like every year we're talking about maybe not necessarily the same thing, but there's always a lot of concern, it feels like. And it's like, should we be at this point with this team, with this group of guys? Should we be concerned every single off season and looking for a move? I think necessarily we shouldn't have to be making moves. These guys, for the most part, should be enough.
Well, you listen to the guys talk about this team and how important each individual player is. Like George Springer comes and he says, like watching Vladdy have batting practice, watching Matt Chapman, Kevin Biggio. Obviously, Chapman's not signed yet. Hopefully, he does come back. But these guys have the talent. And Bichette in his interview also said that he believes that there's enough talent on this roster to succeed and make the World Series. But also, he did mention that it wouldn't be the worst idea to come get a veteran for this team. He did mention JD Martinez and Justin Turner in that interview.
Yeah.
Obviously, a little bit older guys, but they've done it before, right? You need these guys with experience. You need the guys that have gone through the playoffs, gone through the struggles, these big moments, and hopefully they can teach something to these younger guys on the team, make them feel a little bit more comfortable in the box.
Yeah, and I will say to end this off, what he did say was, at the end of the day, we have everything we need. It comes down to what we're willing to do and what it takes to be great. And this goes back to exactly what we talked about. If you guys want to go back and listen, we did a whole segment just on the attitude of this team. And this goes exactly back to that. You have to have the mindset of, I'm here to win, I'm here to do my job. And which these guys, like we said, did not have. They weren't here to necessarily, it didn't seem like anyway, as a fan, necessarily there to win. So when I look at this team and I look who we have, and I'm going to repeat this all season, I think in this he did say as well he thinks we have the pieces to be able to be a winning team, which I 100% agree with. I think if you look up and down this lineup, do we need to add a bat? Not necessarily. If we get everybody, it sort of hasn't worked out where everybody together has been at their best. So if we can get to a point where everybody or 90% of this team is at their best together, this team could win World Series.
Yeah, like this team is good when they are all clicking, but at the same time, like you are putting faith in a lot of guys that haven't really proven themselves, right? You got David Schneider who might be in the running. Guys like Kevin Biggio he had a great end of the year last year, but he has a guy that kind of has been up and down.
Yeah.
Kevin Kiermaier had a good year last year, but same thing, not really a guy that's gonna hit for power for sure. But like even on base, like he's getting older, he's getting to the end of his career. He was great last year. Hopefully, he can continue that. But then you got like Barger or Ellis Martinez. Like these guys are not really proven. And obviously, you do want your young players to develop. But I think with all these great hitters still on the market, I think Jays fans are going to be really pissed off at Ross Atkins if he doesn't make a move for this team.
For sure. And I mean, we'll get into that because I think we're going to have a segment coming up in the next few episodes of trade targets, realistic trade targets, and what maybe personally we'd like to see. Um, but at the same respect, and I think you made this point earlier when we were talking, is we do have a lot of young talent coming up. But I think as Jays management and as Jays fans, we have to think, do we want to risk the maybe possibly last couple years of Vladdy and Bo on developing new guys? Or should right now be the time where we go out and we get guys that will try to win? It's going to be very, very difficult to compete with the Yankees and the Dodgers. And there's a lot of team. For me, I think you got it. You can't stay steady at what we have. Even though I like what we have and I think we can be good to win a World Series, you need more.
And at some point, you have to think this team's been together, like the core players, for a good amount of time now, and we haven't seen any success. At what point are we gonna kind of throw in the towel and be like, "Hey, this might not be it. These players might not be what we think they were going to turn out to be," and we might have to blow it up. You might have to make a big trade. You might have to just kind of do a prospect haul
Yeah.
and just reset. It sucks to say, and I hope it doesn't go that direction
Yeah.
because I do not want to go through a rebuild.
No.
But if this season isn't successful, I don't know if you're going to be able to salvage another reason to get this team to buy again at the deadline and continue to getting big free agents in the offseason.
So I'm going to ask you a quick question here. So first of all, I want to say I don't want to hit the panic button, and I don't know for you. This is part one of this question, but are you looking for the panic button? Maybe you're not hitting it, but are you finding out where it is in the room?
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not panicking yet. But I think, like I said, this is the year. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, or at least doesn't win a game in the playoffs, I'm hitting the panic button
Okay.
for sure.
So that was going to be my question. What is your idea of a successful year for this team?
I'm thinking ALCS. It has to be ALCS this year. Obviously, we haven't seen this team make the ALDS since that 2015 run, and yeah, at this point we've seen it. We've seen the team do well in the regular season. We think of all these World Series aspirations. This is our year. This is our year, and we just haven't seen them close a game out. So I'm thinking that you gotta hopefully win in the division, but if not, obviously advance in the wild card game, and then you got to take care of business in the ALDS and hopefully make it to the LCS this year.
Yeah, my biggest thing is getting into playoffs because I know as much as you know that what usually happens is the team that get the breaks maybe don't go the furthest, right? And so as long as they make playoffs, anything can happen, and that goes without said for pretty much every sport there is, right? Is if you get into the playoffs, it's a completely different breed, and which these guys have seen, right? Because sometimes the playoffs come around with these players that we have, and it is like a deer in headlights with them.
You saw it with the Braves a few years ago. Nobody, even last year, you saw it with the Rangers. Everyone thought they had the bats, which obviously they did. Great hitting team.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem with them was everyone saying the bullpen's not good enough. The bullpen's not good enough. When you hit like 3-4 home runs a game and you're scoring 7, 8, 9 runs, your pitching doesn't have to be that good.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of saw in 2021. We were winning a lot of games we were down 6-2, 7-3 and coming back. And it was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
So hopefully that we can get some hitters on this team, hopefully balance the lineup out a little bit more, and hopefully produce some more runs for this pitching staff that probably was getting pretty frustrated at the end of last year.
Yeah, and you know what? I do want to get into a potential move that the Jays are definitely considering, and maybe give that a quick talk. So we're gonna do that right away.
Braden, if you had an extra $100 in Vegas, what would you do with it?
I'm a blackjack guy, so I'd probably throw it on blackjack.
Hey, that's a great idea. Hopefully, you get a blackjack. You can get that to 250. Good night out. Go to the bars, maybe have a nice dinner, and you can do all that with Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100. I know with my experience with Game Time, I like going to last minute games. The Jets, I'm not a Jets fan, but I'm a Canucks fan. But the Jets always play, and they have a lot of great matchups. They're a great team this year. So their games are always gritty. They're always a battle. So I love watching, especially when they play like Dallas, Vegas, those tough like grinder teams. And Game Time is great for giving me a last minute deal for cheap, $40, $50. Great experience. Give you like 6 rows from the ice. It's awesome. You guys should check that out. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with a purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use code Vegas100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Okay, well, it's time to have that discussion. Do the Jays need more pitching? Actually, I'm going to ask this in a bit different way. Do the Jays want more pitching for some reason?
Yeah, I think Ross loves pitching. I think Cupid shot him with the pitching arrow, and he just can't get enough of it. He's saying, "Screw the bats. We don't give up any runs. We don't need to score runs." And I don't know if that philosophy is going too well with the rest of Blue Jays fans here. But one guy we have been linked to, I'm not sure how you would feel about this, but Domingo German. There's 5 other teams as well at the Jays that are linked to this guy. The Orioles being one of them. What's your opinion on Domingo German coming to the Jays?
I don't want him, to be honest with you. Like I'm not gonna like hold back here. I don't care. I don't want him. He's he's not bad, but he's also not as good as some of the guys we have. And why do we need more mediocre pitching? Like I'm gonna go over the stats of the here from last season. ERA of 4.56, 108.2 innings, 20 home runs allowed, 34 walks, 114 strikeouts. So he's a big strikeout guy, but he gives up a lot of runs. And to be honest with you, I just don't need any more pitching on this team. I've seen enough. I get it. We want pitching. I understand. But in the same respect, can we sign a bat to save our lives here? Like a gun to my head. You want Domingo German or do you not want anybody? I'd honestly just go nobody at this point. Screw it. Let's ride with what we have.
Yeah, soon I feel like Ross is going to make a huge trade for some like 38-year-old reliever that we probably don't need. But yeah, with Domingo German, I don't know if you guys remember this, but earlier in the J season, he was actually caught using sticky stuff. He got kicked out of the game there. We saw on his pants a dark brown substance. Obviously, he was dialing in that game, but when you're cheating, you can't really give the guy too much respect. And Domingo German, he's not a great guy either, known for domestic abuse. And you kind of saw how we handled Roberto Osuna with that. Osuna, obviously, a lot better of a pitcher, but the Jays have a no tolerance policy for all that, and we do as well. So I do not want this guy even remotely close to our locker room.
Yeah, this makes zero sense to me. And you know what? Again, this is a report. This isn't, this isn't gospel. But in the same respect, why are we linked to this guy at all? To be honest with you.
He doesn't fit the Jays mold whatsoever. I mean, yes, he had a perfect game last year, which was cool to see, but it was against the Oakland Athletics. So does it really count? You're kind of playing like a little league team at that
They're
point.
not even gonna be a team in 2 years.
Yeah, they might be relocating as well. So I mean, if you look at the stats, you look at like a guy like that, he'd probably slide into that 5th rotation spot. But I think this is the same reason why we didn't go after a guy like Tommy Pham, why Marcus Stroman, a lot of Jays fans do not like. It's because of these huge attitudes that do not get along with. They're not great locker room guys. They don't get along with their teammates very well, and just not good guys in general. Just kind of garbage human beings that are gonna beat their wives and hit their kids. Just not something I want the Jays to be or associated with.
No, and that's exactly the conversation we had with Roberto Osuna was, I love the guy, great pitcher, but you start throwing hands at somebody and I'm, see ya. Don't want anything to do with you. And so why in the world? And to be honest with you, put all that aside, the Blue Jays don't need another pitcher. That's the end of conversation. There's nothing more that needs to be talked about. They don't need another pitcher. Take away everything else, make it somebody else's name, and it's another reliever with his stats without the everything else against him. And I'd still say the same thing. I don't want this guy. Give me some bats, or let's go. Let's just ride.
Yeah, I don't even know if Herman would make the team out of training camp either. Like it's pretty crowded already with Yariel Rodriguez. I think they're trying to kind of ease into that role, But you don't know. Nobody knows what Alec Manoa is doing right now, and nobody knows how bound Francis is going to be. I know he's very interested in that starting role. I'll quickly go over some Herman pitches here. He's a big curveball guy. 40% of the time throwing that curveball, plays the fastball off of it. And then he also throws this changeup and a sinker. Not very often, just kind of mixes it in. The thing is that another thing that we haven't talked about yet, this guy was on the Yankees. If you go to the Yankees, you're dead to me. I don't want this guy even near our team. Unless Aaron Judge, that doesn't include you. If you want to come, we'll greet you with open arms. But the rest of the Yankees, you guys can stay in New York and have fun over there with your fans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not as hard on them as I. Don't get me wrong. Not a fan of the Yankees, but in the same respect, if a guy's good enough, I'll take him. But yeah, this guy is not good enough to come from the Yankees to the Blue Jays and have all those. I don't know if there were allegations or charges. I'm not even sure, but I didn't like go full in depth into this guy's criminal record history.
It was
But
proven, yeah.
so
not a great human being.
we don't want this guy. No, you know what, Carter? I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. What I really want to do is get into this special draft that you created for us. The other thing I wanted to mention was make sure you guys check out Locked On Sports Today, which is our national 24/7 streaming service, and it's available anytime. So you could be 4 in the morning, you could be 4 at night, you could be having breakfast. Go check this out, and you can get all of your sports coverage there. I also want to mention that my Twitter is Braden5 Iwasco. Carter's is Carter First 2, because again, every time we say this, we will say he could not get the one.
Coming for you.
So with the MLB season not quite underway yet, there's NHL action, but there's also the NFL playoffs. And there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get 150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose, because we need that. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like the live same game parlays. And I think I'm going to keep saying this: is I love live same game parlays. If a game's going into overtime, or if there's a certain thing I think is going to hit, okay, I'll just jump right on the app. I'll throw some money down, bang, boom, bang, I'm in, and then I'm a winner.
It makes a boring game a lot more interesting.
Find bets in the new Explore tab. Also, you can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays. The parlays are my go-to if I actually have time to sit down and like look through what I want. But if I also just want to put something down quickly, there is pre-made parlays, which are fantastic. So visit fanduel.com/locked on and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Okay, Carter. So you created another special draft. Last time we did guys you'd want to take to the bar. What one do you have for us today?
This one also could associate some alcohol depending on how this goes. But this one today is going to be a golf round.
Ooh.
So you're going to have a foursome, including yourself. So you know 3 other Blue Jays players. Whether they play golf, you could just be there for the vibes. You could be there to just watch somebody suck. Whatever you want to do. There's a bunch of guys on this team that do golf, a bunch of guys that don't. So I'm going to give you the first pick again, since I did create the draft. I've been thinking about this for a while. So, Braden, what do you have at the 1-1 here for the golf draft?
Okay, so in my head, there's 2 picks. There's a 1-1 and a 1-2. Now you can go with either of these guys. And after you make your selection, I will tell you why. But I'm going to go with the man, the babe, Davis Schneider.
Man, you love that guy, hey?
Yeah, he's my #1 for everything.
Yeah, you saw that he kind of changed the facial hair, eh? Shaved the mustache off.
I know.
He kind of has it the same length as you do now. It's not fully off, but he's still got a little bit of scruffle there. So
yeah. Well, I feel like he's a guy that would like throw down some money on some holes or just have a good time.
Oh, so you want him to contribute to your parlay addiction here?
Yeah. We'll say loser maybe places a parlay for the other guy or something. We'll figure it out.
That's I think you picked him first in the going out draft of the par.
I'll pick him out. I'll pick him first for anything.
So that's the problem. I'm gonna have to get the 101 if I ever want Davis Schneider.
That's right.
The guy I'm gonna go with here, the guy that golfs fairly often, is very into it. With Ryan Barucki, actually, I think it was in 2018. He went for a tournament. I don't know where it is exactly.
Was it the Golf Canada tournament?
Yes, he was a part of Golf Canada because he is the Canadian Jordan Romano.
Love it.
A guy that golfs a lot. Always just going to be great vibes on the course. He He's going to be a competitor out there. He's going to kind of keep you into the game. Maybe you're going to go lower than you ever have before. I think it'd be a very interesting time.
I'll tell you exactly why I wasn't going to pick him is because he would slaughter me out there. It would be a bloodbath. And probably so with Davis Schneider, but like
Oh,
also, maybe I can, I think I can convince him to have a couple more beers on the course or something.
and
Give me a chance.
he'd probably like that we're making him look good too. So no complaints from that guy.
That's
But I'll
right.
give it back to you here for your second pick.
Yeah, my 2-1 here is going to be Kevin Gosman.
That's a good pick. I like that.
I think he likes
Another
to,
golfer.
yeah, he likes to golf. I think a big vibes guy. A couple cigars on the course. We could definitely have a time.
I'm gonna go. This one's might be a little bit off the board, but I know this guy's a great golfer. I'm gonna go with Ernie Clement,
Mm,
a guy that I've heard is good at pretty much everything he does. So we'll
big
see how he can
athlete.
stripe it on the golf course. Maybe I'll see the best golf I've ever seen in person. It'd be a good time. Ernie seems like a very chill guy too. With good, have a lot to talk about, I believe.
Yeah,
Big hockey guy too.
yeah.
So yeah, it'd be a fun time with those two so far.
Ernie's just an athlete. Hey, like just through and through, just an athlete. Like I feel like he'd be a guy that you throw him on the volleyball court and he'd figure
Oh,
it
you
out too.
throw him randomly. You throw him
Yeah,
in badminton. Maybe he's good at croquet,
yeah,
probably like
yeah,
bocce ball, whatever it is.
yeah. I will go with. Oh goodness, I don't know. There's so many options. I am gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Chris Bassett.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I just think another guy like you know could go out there and golf, just a good time. Like I feel like we haven't brought him up in any of the drafts yet, so I think I don't know. I just like to get to know the guy like personally. Like he's not a big media guy either, which I think Davis does a little bit more media stuff. Jordy's done some. So yeah, I think he'd just be a good guy to like get to know.
Yeah, you don't really hear about him talking to the media too much. That's correct. So it would be interesting to kind of get him to open up a little bit and pick his mind a little, see what
Yeah.
he's thinking about. All right, I'm surprised this guy's still here. Maybe a little bit off the board actually as well, though. But if he got a hold of his driver, I think this ball would be launched to Mars.
Would he be finding Bradley Zimmer or what?
I hope so. Maybe Bradley Zimmer would be an interesting guy to golf with as well. Maybe he could be my caddy here. But
There you go.
maybe I could be his caddy. It's probably more realistic. But I'm going to go with Vladdy, actually. Obviously, not a big golfer, but if he got that leg kick, he could probably hit the ball to the moon, man. It would be so cool to see. And also, at like this point, kind of let Ernie and Jordy fight it out. And maybe me and Vladdy just kind of have a bit like just good old times.
Yeah.
Enjoy the links, enjoy the views. Just relax and let those two dogs go at it.
Yeah, I like the picks. We're gonna have to sort of somehow convince these guys to come for a round.
Yeah.
Or actually, maybe we go for a round because they probably have a few nicer courses here than we
Oh,
do.
absolutely. You got a few okay ones in Winnipeg, but they can't compare to the ones in Ontario.
Yeah, there's some nice courses out there, and I mean those guys, they've played some nice courses. I'm guessing with their MLB money, they've probably gone for a few trips to
And a
go
lot of
play.
these guys, I mean, in the off season, like I know Ernie and Davis, they don't have kids, so I mean, they just hit up the links. I mean,
Yeah.
what else is there to do, right? A lot of these guys are big gamers, big golfers.
Yeah, sounds like us in the summers.
Oh, exactly, right. You
Yeah.
can't go wrong with games and golf, right?
Yeah, that's right. Baseball, golf, games, can't go wrong. Couple beers, good to go.
It's all you need in life.
We've of course we've had another great time doing these episodes. We want to thank you guys all for consistently tuning in. We're gonna have so much more. It's gonna get to next level when the season kicks off and we can start watching games and really breaking stuff down and getting excited. Like I'm already like my blood's starting to be like, all right, when's the season getting here? Um, but yeah, it's been fantastic. You guys have been fantastic. Some of the comments, great. Some of them not so great, but we
Hey,
have fun with them.
We'll take any comment we can get, whether you love us or you hate us. Keep
Yeah.
commenting. Let us know how you feel about the podcast. And right now, the trade deadline in the NBA is getting close. The NHL is coming up, NFL playoffs. A lot of big sporting moments going on. So it's a great time to check out the Locked On's 24/7 streaming app. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to Locked On's first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Thank you guys for watching. I'll link our Twitters one more time here. We got Braden 5 Owasco and Carter First 2 because I couldn't get the one. Still got to figure out who this guy is. Next week, we got a lot more good content coming your guys' way. Be sure to tune in Monday morning, and we'll see you guys next week.
Actually, that's what you bet. You play golf and you bet that if you beat Jordy, he has to buy you that Twitter account.
Oh, that could be great, actually. How much do you think that's going to go for?
I don't know. It's Carter First
Hey,
one. It's probably like $5.
That's a very coveted name, man. Very coveted name.
Thanks again for watching, guys. Take it easy.